Hi, beautiful people. So I just want to start off by saying, I know it's, been a bit of a hot minute since I made a video, which I said that in the last one, and I told you why, so I feel like people have been a lot more understanding this time of, oh yeah, she's, teaching all day, going straight to tennis, going home and eating, and then taking a shower and going to bed. That makes sense why she, doesn't have enough time for videos. So thank you for giving me a little more grace, I feel like. But I just want to also remind you that in this time, even though I haven't made a video in a month, maybe it's been over a month, in this time, I'm not just sitting being a lazy bum. Like, I've really been equipping myself so that I can pour out to you, right? Like, soaking in a ton of sermons and just reading a bunch of stuff in the Bible and studying different things in the Bible and listening to all this music and all this stuff. Like, really, taking it all in so that I can pour it out to you. That's what this is all about, is to fill up so I can pour out, right? That should be our goal as Christians. So with all that being said, a big thing I've been studying lately is something in the Bible that's very much a key theme. We studied this at my church for a few weeks and it was so good. And that is how God asks us questions, and the times God has asked questions, or Jesus asked people questions. Ow, I just got a paper cut. There's a lot of them in the Bible, and honestly, until this sermon series at my church, I didn't even recognize or realize how many there were in the Bible, especially in the Old Testament. Like, I knew of where are you? God asking Adam and Eve, where are you? In the Garden of Eden. In Genesis, like, I knew that one, but really didn't know of any more in the Old Testament. And then in the New Testament, I knew of Jesus talking to his disciples and asking them questions, but I've never studied them this much in depth before. And it's just really fascinating, if I do say so myself, about the word. But yeah, it's interesting because when you think about God and him asking a question, it almost seems like silly, like, God, what? Why are you asking that? You should know everything, you're God, right? And that's true. God is omniscient, and so he knows everything. And that's like the most important thing here, is God's not asking questions to get information or to gain knowledge. He knows everything already. He doesn't ask questions for himself, he asks them for us, right? His questions make us learn something, or make us think about something, or make us realize something, or, like, have those moments of, oh, where it could be like, I need to change this part of my life. I'm doubting, I'm struggling with this, or oof, I need to change that. It's like there's so many different things that we can take from God asking the people in the Bible different questions, and Jesus asking people different questions. So there are a bunch. And I think now that you're aware of it, and now that I'm aware of it, you're going to look for it more and you'll see it more, which is, I love that. When you study things, you see things more and more and more. Just like when you meet someone and then you had never seen them before, but then you realize, like, oh, I see him at lunch. Oh, I see him in my class. And, you see him a lot more because you found out about it. So anyway, these are some of the ones that I've been studying. One of these I'm actually going to, kind of go into today because obviously the title of it, you can probably tell. But here are some of them. Where are you? Which I already talked about, which God asked Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. To Moses, what is that in your hand? God asked that. In 1 Kings to Elijah, God said, what are you doing here? And that's, like, out of all these, it's to me the most, like, human question to ask, because it's like, when we ask it, sometimes we're like, Elijah, what are you doing here? But God was obviously not asking it like that, but you can read it like that, and it's just funny. In Ezekiel, can these bones live? In Jonah, have you any right to be angry? And then Jesus asks a lot. He says, who do you say I am? And why are you so afraid? And why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I tell you? And then who touched me? There's so many more too. And like I said, now that I've pointed it out to you, you'll probably look for it even more and find it even more, which is great. But the one I want to talk about today is, what is that in your hand? And then probably just a little bit of, why are you so afraid? Because that one for me is, as a worrier, as someone who overthinks everything and just, like, wants to have the plan, like, I need to know every detail. Like, I want to plan every detail. I want to know everything. I want to be in control and, like, know what's coming in my future, And I tend to be very prone to worry. I have anxiety, so it's like, that's always something that is constantly, like, working up in my heart, is like overthinking, having anxiety, all of that. And so, ever since studying this, I've started writing on my hand, why are you so afraid? Like, what do you really not think that God has your back? Do you really not know that God is with you? Do you not believe that? Do you not trust me? Do you not, believe that God is for you, Becca? Like, there's all these things that come questions that come from that one question, why are you so afraid? Which, if you don't know that story in the Bible, it's where the disciples and Jesus were in a boat and a storm came and Jesus was like sleeping during this huge storm and the disciples were freaking out. They're like, we're gonna die. Jesus, do you not care? Because you're sleeping. Like, do you not care that we're gonna die? Right? And he said, like, why are you so afraid? Like, do you not trust that I am God and that I've got you and that you have nothing to fear and that I can say one word and the storm will cease, right? I guess the one I really want to talk about today is, what is that in your hand? And this is a new one. Like the one Jesus asking, why are you so afraid? I've kind of known that one, but what is that in your hand is what God asked Moses in Exodus. And, you know, just being honest, like I've always studied the New Testament a lot more than the Old, but the older I get, the more I realize the Old Testament is just as relatable and deep and I guess just fascinating to, it's been fascinating to study it and see how we are very similar to the people in the Old Testament, even though it was so long ago, right? So basically in Exodus, Moses was called by God and he said, you're gonna go to Pharaoh and you're gonna say, let my people go. You know, this little nobody, right, is gonna go to the Pharaoh and say, you need to do this. And he was like, oh, are you sure? Like, I don't know. But he had a staff in his hand and God said, what is that in your hand, right? And he showed him all these miracles. He turned it into a snake. He, you know, had his hand turn into this disease and then he, you know, took it back out and it was totally clean and healed. And it was the staff that he would later use to part the Red Sea. You know, all these different things, like God showed him right then and there in that moment when he asked him the question. And then also like down the road, he used it, right, as like a tool to show him, look, I am faithful to you. I've been faithful to you then and I'm always faithful to you now, right? And for me, I started to think like, okay, do I have anything that I constantly have in my hand to see, just like a reminder of God's faithfulness to me? And I was trying to think, and then, you know, I was thinking about school where I constantly have an ID around my neck, like a little lanyard that shows I'm a teacher, and then an ID and, you know, my keys to my room and this little like, I don't even know, keychain that one of my students from last year gave me, just kind of all on this little lanyard thing, right, that I wear whenever I'm at work. And I constantly hold it in my hand because when you walk, it like bounces against your stomach and it kind of gets annoying to hear the jingle, 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 right? And so I'm constantly holding it, or even when I do like have my kids with me and I'm not even like walking around, it's just like twirling it in my hand, you know, you have a habit of spinning it. But anyway, it's always in my hand. And so I was thinking to myself, what is that in your hand, Becca? Like, do you see what that is? Because if you've been with me a long time on my YouTube channel, you may remember a few years ago I was at, not yet in like, it's November right now, so say like March-ish, maybe January-ish, that would mark 2 years ago when I was starting to be very worried and just fearful about getting a job after graduating from college. I was like, what if I have to sub, and what if I don't get a job, and what if this, like constant worry, constant anxiety. And I made a few videos talking about that even, so you can like find those if you really want to. But it's like, what is that in your hand? Do you see like this ID and this, you know, lanyard? That's a sign of my faithfulness to you, Becca. Do you not see that? Like, why are you so afraid? Do you not trust me? With several things in my life that I'm always like, oh my gosh, is this gonna work out? Is this going on? Like all the time in my future, and there's certain things that I want to happen and they haven't happened or whatnot, right? And it's like, what is that in your hand? Why are you so afraid? Like, I am God and I've got you and you have nothing to fear. I have a plan for you and it is a good plan, and I am good no matter what happens. It's just been something that's brought me a lot of peace to ask myself those questions throughout the day. Like, that's why I write them on my hand. Like, why are you so afraid? You don't have a reason to be. What is that in your hand? I'm going to be faithful to you. God talking. I'm going to be faithful to you, so you don't have to worry about anything. And so just to challenge you, I don't know if you have something in your hand that you physically hold every day the way that I do. Maybe it's a wedding ring. Maybe it's a certificate. Maybe it's a letter. Maybe it's something that someone has given to you that you can look and be like, this is a sign of my faithfulness to you. Like God saying to you, this is how I've been faithful to you in the past. I've answered your prayers in the past. Do you not believe that I'm going to do that again? Right? Why are you so afraid? I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I have stayed the same throughout all of history, and I'm going to stay the same and be faithful to you now too. So I'm going to think about that. Maybe it's something you physically have in your hand, or maybe it is like a letter that you can set out on your desk, or maybe it's a ring, or I don't know. Like, God works in so many different ways in all of our hearts and in our lives, and speaks to us in ways that really get to the depths of our soul. And so I want you to really think about that. And if you can't think of anything, ask God to show you how he's been faithful to you, because he will. And if you write it all out, that's another great way to show, like, God answered this prayer and this prayer and this prayer and this prayer and this prayer. That's why I have a prayer journal, because it's so cool to look back at all the things God's answered. So, whew, I feel like I didn't breathe that entire time, but I'm okay. I'm still alive. I mean, I just didn't take a breath, that's all. So no worries, right? Yeah, anyway, thank you for watching, and thanks for being patient. Honestly, like, in the past, when I would take breaks because of different reasons, people would send me so many emails like, why are you making videos? You know, like, concerned, and then also like, come on, like, why haven't we made videos yet? Right? Like, the impatient and the concerned. And I really only got like a couple concerned, and so I appreciate that, because I do feel guilty when I don't make them. And it's not because I don't want to make them. It's typically because I literally have so many other things going on and other people I'm pouring into. And so I'm thankful for this time I've had for God to equip me, because I really am ready to pour out and just tell you so many things that God's been teaching me lately, and just so many things that he's been doing. And it's awesome, and I'm excited, and I get emotional a lot on the way home from work when it's just after school. There's so much that happens, not even just with kids, but in my own heart, in other situations. I'm just like in tears, because there's so much that God's been doing, and I'm excited, and I can't wait to talk to you all about that. So I love you, and I hope you have a great day. I know that you are so loved and so beautiful. I almost forgot it. Could you tell? Okay, see ya.
This is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. I don't have to prove a thing. You've already